I'm Denis Makori, a teacher of maths, and in the previous classes we have been covering this topic, squares and square roots, which is the 9th topic in Form 1. We have already done squares. Yesterday we did on square roots, whereby we did some examples on how to find square roots of numbers by, first case we did by factorization method. This is what we covered yesterday. We have also done finding square root of numbers using use of mathematical tables. Now, as a reminder, yesterday we said when you want to find the square root of a number by factorization method, what you are supposed to do is to write the number in prime factors. After writing the number in prime factors, in a pair of two numbers, you choose one number so that you find the product of those numbers. Whereby, I can give an example. Let us say we have a number such as 441. When you write 441 in factor method, you start with 3, 1, 4, 7, 3, 4, 9, 7, 7, and 7, 1. So 441 in factor method is 3 times 3 times 7 times 7. This is a pair of identical numbers. Pick one, and this is a pair of identical numbers. You pick one, and the answer is 21. Or you can say it's 3 power 2 times 7 power 2 when you write 441 in factor method. Finding the square root of this simply means dividing the power by 2. Divide this power by 2, so it's 3 power 2 divided by 2 times 7 power 2 you divide by 2. This gives you 3 times 7, which is 21. That's how we find the square root of a number by factor method. Also, we said you can find the square root of numbers by use of mathematical tables. In case of square roots, we say square root of numbers, square root of numbers between 1.00 and 99.99 can be read directly from tables. Numbers between 1.00 and 99.99, you can just find the square root of those numbers directly from tables. So the same way we were using the tables of squares is the same way you can use the table of square roots. Now, let us say we have a number such as 98.72. We want to find the square root of 98.72. What you just do is to open your mathematical tables and look at where we have 98.7. In 98.7, we have 9.9348. 9.9348. Then you look at the difference column, we have 10. You add 10 to the last column, whereby you can add this and find 9.9358. So this means the square root of 98.72 is 9.9358. That's how you find the square root of numbers by use of tables. So any number between 1.00 and 99.99, the square root of that given number can be read directly from the table. Now, I remember the last example I did was the square root of numbers which are less than 1, and we also did the square of numbers which are greater than 1. So we said, once you are now to find the square root of numbers, less than 1 and greater than 100. In this case, we talk about positive numbers, because you know you cannot find the square root of a negative number. So now, I remember yesterday we said, when finding the square root of numbers less than 1 and greater than 100, first of all, you write the number in the form of a times 10 power n, where 1 is less than or equal to a, which is less than 100. This simply means the value of a ranges between 1.00 and should be less than and less than 100. So when finding the square root of a, the square root of n number which is less than 1 and greater than 100, this value of a should be either 1 or greater than 1 and less than 100. And the value of n, and the value of n is an even integer. So always the value of n must be an even integer. So a must range between 1 and less than 100, while n must be an even integer. Now, how do we find? Let us look at some examples on how to do that. On how to find the square root of these numbers. Let's say we have a number 0.006187. 0.006187. So if we write this number in the form of a times 10 power n, we can write it in the form of, this is 1, 2, 3. If you stop at this point, the number is going to be 6.187 times 10 power negative 3. In this case, this is not an even integer. This is an odd integer. And for you to find the square root of a given number, the value of n must be an even integer. So what you do, you have to move this decimal point such that it's between 1 and 8, and the answer is 61.87 times 10 power negative 4. So in this case, 10 power negative 4, the integer 4 is even, and the number 61.87 lies between 1 and less than 100. So what you do, go to your 4 figures, find the value of 61.8 using the same procedure we said yesterday. We have 61.8 is 61.87 using your 4 figures. What's the answer? Anyone to assist us? Open your 4 figures where we have square roots and find the square root of 61.8. The answer is 7.8613. Difference column, which value ranges at 7, we have 45. So you add this on the last digit. This gives you 7.8658. This is the square root of 61.87. Also find the square root of 10 power negative 4. For you to find the square root of 10 power negative 4, there are 2 ways you can do this. You can write this as a fraction, which is 1 over 10,000. Square root of that, it's 1 over 100. Or you can say it's 10 power negative 4 divided by 2, Remember, when finding the square root of a number, you divide the power by 2. So when you divide this by 2, the answer becomes 10 power negative 2. 10 power negative 2, which is the same as 1 over 100. So you can multiply this by 10 power negative 2 all times 1 over 100 is the same, whereby this gives you 0.078658, or you can say this is 7.8658 times 10 power negative 2 in standard form. In this case, our answer is in standard form, while this answer is in normal form. So make sure when you find the square root of a number, always the value of n is an even integer and the value of a ranges between 1.0 and it's less than 100. Another example, let us say we have 0.09823. 0.09823. You are supposed to find the square root of this. First step, you write the number in the form of a times 10 power n. So this decimal point 0.12. So the answer becomes 9.823 times 10 power negative 2. Find the square root of 9.823. Find the square root of 10 power negative 2. The square root of 10 power negative 2 is the same as 10 power negative 1. How do I find 10 power negative 1? You divide this by 2. Negative 2 divided by 2 is 10 power negative 1. Next, what you're supposed to do is to find the square root of 9.82. First of all, look at the first 3 digits. It's 9.82. And using your tables, the value of 9.82 is 3.9.82. Using your tables, anyone to assist us? 3.1337. That's the answer. 337. That's the square root of 9.82. Then you go to the difference column where we have 3, we have 5. So you add 5 in this case, and always you add in the last digits. That's what you already know. This gives us 2431, 3.1342 times 10 power negative 1, which is the same as 3.1342 times 1 over 10, which gives us 0.31342. And that's the square root of 0.09823. Now, next let us see on how to find examples, the square root of numbers which are greater than 100. Now, for example, I want to find the square roots of 6,895. Square root of 6,895. Write this number in this form, a times 10 power n, and n must be an even integer. So we assume that the decimal point is at the end of 5. This is 1, 2. So the answer is 68.95 times 10 power 2. There is no way this can be 6.895 times 10 power 3 because this is odd. So we cancel this and we use 68.95 times 10 power 2. So find the square root of 68.95, find the square root of 10 power 2. 10 power 2 is just 100. 10 power 2 is 10 times 10, which is 100. Find the square root of 100, which is 10. Using your tables, use your tables and tell me the square root of 68.95. First of all, you have to find the square root of 68.9. What's the answer? It must start with 8. We know it must start with 8. That's what we did yesterday. So if you don't know whether the first digit is 8, remember 68 is between 64 and 81. And the square root of 64 is 8. The square root of 81 is 9. So any number between 64 and 81, the square root must start with 8. So we have 68.9. The answer is 8.3006. Then you add 5. A number which is rhyming with 5 is 30. So you add 30, which is called 6, 3038. So the answer is 8.3036. Multiply this by 10, it's 8.3036 times 10. The answer is 83.036. And that's how you find the square root of 6,895 in using tables. The most important thing I'm repeating once again is write the number in the form of a times 10 power n. And those are for numbers which are less than 1 and greater than 100. And in this case, underline positive numbers. You cannot find the square root of a negative number. You only find the square root of positive numbers. So write and the value of n must be an even integer. Another example is we want to find the square root of 641.978. 641.978. First of all, when you look at this number, it's more than 4 digits. And at the front page of your 4 figures, of your mathematical table, we have 4 figures. We don't have 5 figures or 6 figures. We have 4 figures. So this means all numbers whereby you are supposed to find the square root must be to 4 figures or 4 significant figures. We are going to cover significant figures in the next topic, which is length. But for now, remember the number must be 4 figures. So round off this number to 4 figures. The first digit is 6. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. When you look at this number, it's more than 7 is more than 5. So you increase the preceding digit by 1, the answer becomes 642.0. So you are supposed to find the square root of 642.0. What I've done is to round off this number to 4 figures. So using your tables, write this number in the form of a times 10 power n. It becomes 6.42 times 10 power 2. 6.42 times 10 power 2. Find the square root of this, also find the square root of this. The square root of 10 power 2 is 10 power 1, which is 10, because 10 power 2 is 100. Using your tables, can you tell me the square root of 6.42? Square root of 6.42? 2.5338. 2.5338. Times 10, the answer is 25.338. And the square root of 641.978, first of all, round the number to 4 digits. After rounding off the number to 4 digits, then you find the square root, which is 25.338. One more example, we have 68,278.9. 68,278.9. You are supposed to find the square root of this. So what you do, write the number first of all to 4 digits. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is more than what? It's more than 5. So this increases by 1. It becomes 68,280. You have to add the 0 in place of what? In place of 8. So you are supposed to find the square root of 68,280. So we assume this is where we have the decimal point. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. So the answer becomes 6.828 times 10 power 4. Find the square roots, you find the square root. 10 power 4 is just 10,000. Or you can just divide this power by 2, whereby it should be 10 power 2. Square root is dividing the power by 2, whereby the answer is 10 power 2. Next is find the square root of 6.828. We always know it has to start with 2 point something. So what's the square root of 6.828? First of all, can you write the value of 6.82 using your tables? 6.82 is 2.6115. Then in the difference column you add Where we have 8, the value which coincides with that is difference column, the value which coincides with that is 15. You add 15. This gives us 0, 3, 1, 6, 2. So the answer is 2.613 times 10 power 2, or it's 2.613 times 100, and the answer becomes 261.3. 261.3 is the approximate value of the square root of 68,280. That's how you find the square root of that. Now, I think these examples are enough for numbers which are less than 1 and greater than 10, unless anyone asks a question. Since we don't have a question, now we want to summarize what we have done in the old topic. We want to summarize what we have done in the old topic, starting with squares. Let's summarize what we have done. Then we can look at the application part. The application part involves where we are given addition, subtraction, and we are supposed to use square roots and squares. So before we look at the application part, let us summarize what we have done from the start of the topic. The first thing we did was squares. That was our first subtopic, whereby we did on how to find squares by multiplication and by use of tables. Whereby we said the square of a number, this is just a summary of what we have done. The square of a number is the product of the number by itself, product of the number by itself. By that we mean, if we want to find a squared, this simply means that is a squared is a times a. If I want to find x, let me use 5 squared, it's just 5 times 5. That's what it means by finding the square of a number. We can also find the square of a fraction, whereby we have, when you have a over p squared, find the product of the numerator, it's a times a divided by p times p. You can also find the square of a decimal number. Let's say we have 0.08 squared, which is the same as 8 over 100 times 8 over 100, which is 64 over 10,000. And you can write this as decimal point, which is 0.0064. Generally, that's how you find the square of a number by multiplication. We also done some examples on how to find squares using tables, squares from tables. And we said, when finding squares of tables, numbers, the square of numbers, let's say the square of numbers between 1.000 and 9.999 can be read directly, from tables. Squares of numbers between 1.00 and 9.99 can be read directly from tables. N number between 1.00 and 9.99, just read the square of that number directly from the table. Now, this means n number which is less than 1.00 and greater than 9.99, what you are supposed to do is to write the number in standard form, then you find the square of that given number. For n number, for n number less than 1 and greater than greater than 10, write the number, in the form of a times 10 power n, where 1.00 is less than or equal to a and less than 10, and n is an integer. So n number less than 1 and greater than 10, you have to write the number in the form of a times 10 power n. After writing the number in the form of a times 10 power n, you can find the square of that number. That means when you write this number in form of a times 10 power n, find the square of a, you also find the square of n. Whereby you say the square of n, you can just multiply the value of the powers, then multiply by the value of a, and you find the square of that number. We also did, this is what we covered for those numbers which are less than 1 and greater than 10. We also did square root of numbers, is what we have done. Square roots. You can find the square root of a number by factorization method. Also, you can find by use of tuples. You can find the square of a number by factorization method and by use of tuples. Now, by a factorization method, we said what you have to do, finding the square of a number or the square root of a number by factorization method, we say you have to write the number in form of prime factors. After writing the number in prime factors, you group the pair of the numbers by two identical numbers. You pick one in a pair of identical numbers, you pick one, and finally you find the product of the number. So by a factorization method, you can write the number in prime factors. You write the number in prime factors. After writing the number in prime factors, pair the prime factors. You pair the prime factors. Into two identical numbers. And for every pair, choose one number. You pick only one number and finally obtain the product. Whereby, by an example, you can say, if I want to find the square root of 43, let me you find the square root of 4,225 by prime factors. When you write this number in factor method, it is 5 times 5 times 13 times 13. This is a pair of identical numbers. You pick one, 5, a pair of identical numbers, you pick one times 13. The product of 5 and 13 is 65. That's how generally we find the square of numbers by factorization method. Next is by square roots from tables, whereby we have said square roots of numbers between 1.00 and 99.99 can be read directly Square root of numbers between 1.00 and 99.99 can be read directly from tables. The square root of given numbers between 1.00 and 99.99 can be read directly from tables. For a number which is less than 1, for positive numbers less than 1 and greater than 100, you write the number in the form of a number which is greater than 1 and less than 100, you write the number in the form of A times 10 power n, where A ranges between 1 and is less than 100, and n is an even integer. So generally, that's what you are supposed to do when you are finding the square root of numbers using tables. Now, we want to see on general examples of squares and square roots. General examples on the old topic of squares and square roots, some 4 or 5 examples. Then you can do and give you some exercise so that you can try and see whether you can find the solution of that. Now, we are told evaluate. A, the square root of 90 times 6. Evaluate the square root of 90 times 6. So first of all, what you are supposed to do, this is the solution. Let's look at the solution of this. When you are given the square root of 90 times 6, what you are supposed to do, first of all, find the product of 90 by 6. What's the product of 90 by 6? Correct. The answer is 540. 90 times 6 is 540, so you are supposed to find the square root of 540. And for you to find the square root of 540, what you are supposed to do is to write 540 in the form of A times 10 power n. It's 5.4 times 10 power 2. 5.4 times 10 power 2. Find the square root of 5.4, find the square root of 10 power 2. What's the square root of 10 power 2? 10 power 1, which is 10. Correct. The answer is 10 power 1, which is 10. 10 power 2 is just 10 times 10, which is 100. The square root of 100, 10. And what's the square root of 5.4? By use of your tables, what's the square root of 5.4? The answer is 2.3228. Is that correct? Anyone to confirm that? 2.3238. Seems your eyes are not seeing what you are reading. The answer is 2.3238, not 2.3228. It's 2.3238 times 10. The answer is 23.238. And that's the square root of 90 times 6. Square root of 90 times 6. What if you are supposed to find the square root, the value of square root of 150 plus the square root of 180? What are you supposed to do? No, you cannot add 150 and 180 then you find the square root. That's wrong. Unless and otherwise, remember, square root of 150 plus the square root of 180, this is not the same as square root of 150 plus 180. No. This is wrong. So what you are supposed to do is to use your tables, find the square root of 150 and also find the square root of 180. After finding the square root of 150 and the square root of 180, then you add. Now, let us see whether we can find. I'm going to do this and also find the value. Part C now, we are going to find the square root of 150 plus 180. I want you to see the difference between the square root of 150 and the square root of 180. 150 square root plus square root of 180 is not the same as square root of 150 plus 180. So what's the square root of 150? Write 150 in prime factors is 1.5 times 10 power 2. Find the square root of 1.5 and the square root of 10 power 2. Square root of 10 power 2 is 10. And what's the square root of 1.5 by use of your depots? 1.2247, correct? It's 1.2247 times 10, it's 12.247. This is just the square root of 150, 12.2247. Then find, let me use this space so that you cannot be confused. Then find the square root of 180, which is 1.8 times 10 power 2. Square root, square root. Square root of 10 power 2 is 10 power 1. And by use of your tuples, what's the square root of 1.8? By use of tuples, the answer is 1.3416, correct? 3416 times 10, it's 13.416. And that's the square root of 180. Then finally, add the square root of 150, which is 12.247, plus the square root of 180, which is 13.416. Adding the two, this is 3, 6, 6, 25.663. That's the square root of 180 plus the square root of 150. Now, let us confirm whether the square root of 180 plus the square root of 150 is the same as the square root of 150 plus 180. So in this case, first of all, add these values under the square root form. What's 150 plus 180? You don't have to use a calculator to find this. You can just add, whereby the answer is square root of 330. 180 plus 150 is 330. First of all, you find the sum of these two. So that's where we find 330 from. Because you may be, where did we find 330? It's just 150 plus 180. Now let us add as if we are in class 1. 0 plus 0, 0. 5 plus 8, 13. Carry 1. 1 plus 1 plus 1, 3. And that's where we find 330 from. So we are supposed to find the square root of 330, which is the square root of 3.3 times the square root of 10 power 2. When you write this in the form of a times 10 power n, it's 3.3 times 10 power 2. What's the square root of 3.3? It's 1.8166 times 10, because the square root of 100 is 10, and the answer is 18.166. So you can see there is a difference between the square root of 150 plus the square root of 180, which is 25.663, and the square root of 150 plus 180. So always don't confuse this. When you are given this, find the value of the values under the square root sign, and also when you are given this, find the square root of 150, find the square root of 180, then you find the sum of those two square roots. Next, let us do an example whereby we have squares and square roots. Use factor method. Another example, use factor method to evaluate. Use factor method to evaluate. We have 1,470 squared divided by square root of 7,056, leaving your answer in prime factors, or writing your answer in prime factors. The square root 1,470 squared times you divide by the square root of 756, and leave your answer in factor method, in prime factors. So in this case, what you are supposed to do first of all is to write 1470 in factor method. So we use our table and write 1470 in factor method. We have 2735, 3245, 549, 7771. So 1470 in factor method is 2 times 3 times 5 times 7 squared. Because 7 appears twice, so it's 7 squared. What about 756? In factor method, you can draw a table. You start with 2, 3, 5, 2, 8, 2, 1, 7, 6, 4, 2, 8, 8, 2, 2, 4, 4, 1, 3, 1, 4, 7, 3, 4, 9, 7, 7, 1. So 7056 is the same as 2 power 4 times 3 squared times 7 squared. When you write 7056 in factor method, the answer is 2 power 4 times 3 squared times 7 squared. Now, what I've done is just writing the number in factor method. Now, I need to find the value of, now finding the square of this, we said when you find the square, you raise the powers by 2, each power by 2. So 2 is raised to power 1, 3 is raised to power 1, 5 is raised to power 1. So this becomes 2 power 1 times 2 times 3 power 1 times 2 times 5 power 1 times 2 times 7 power 2 times 2. When you find the square of 1470 square by 7056, this is the answer in factor method. Finally, now, since you are wanting to try this and see whether you can find the answer. So next time I come back, just want to see what have you done in this exercise. You can try this. Evaluate is what you are going to evaluate. The square root of 50 plus the square root of 20. Also, confirm your answer where they are the same. I'm not saying that the answer should be the same. Find the square root of 50 and the square root of 20. Find the answer and the square root of 50 plus 20. The next one is if x is 3, y is 2, y is 2, and z is 7. Calculate the square root of x squared plus y squared plus z squared. The fourth one I want to try is if a is 7, b is a half, and c is a quarter, find the 5